This is the Power BI and More podcast from CRM Audio with Business Solutions MVPs Scott Sewell and Joel Lindstrom. Do you have data? If you do, you need KingswaySoft. KingswaySoft is a leading integration solution provider offering software solutions that makes data integration affordable and painlessly easy. Thousands of enterprise clients from over 70 countries and regions rely on KingswaySoft to integrate data with various business systems in order to drive their business efficiency and fully leverage their information assets. KingswaySoft works easily within the SSIS platform to make your integration processes as quick and easy as possible. Many of the clients have seen 3 to 10 times greater data integration performance after switching to the SSIS integration platform. We'd like to thank KingswaySoft for sponsoring Power BI and More from CRM Audio.
On this very special episode of Power BI and More, we were fortunate to have conversations with two really interesting members of the Power BI leadership team from Microsoft, both of whom were in New York City for their latest stop on the Power BI World Tour. Kim Manis is the Group Program Manager responsible for Power BI Desktop at Microsoft. She gives us a behind-the-scenes look into what drives new features being added to the desktop, and she reveals what new features she's most excited about delivering to the Power BI Desktop over the next 2 releases. Charles Chuck Sterling is a Program Manager responsible for connecting Microsoft with the community. He's a popular conference speaker, and he shares some insight into the Power BI MVP program. He also shares a surprising, new, and interesting way he uses Power BI to replace another popular Office product. Take a listen, and as always, we welcome your feedback and comments. I'm here with Kim Manis, Group Program Manager for Power BI Desktop at Microsoft. And so tell me what does that mean? What does that responsibility cover?
So I lead up the product team for Power BI Desktop. We spend a ton of time with customers. We work on prioritizing new features and improvements to existing features, and just figuring out the roadmap for what are we going to do next with Power BI.
Very cool. So you're seeing out in the future for what things that we're looking forward to seeing.
Totally,
So you could tell us all those features, but then you'd have to kill us, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, Kim, tell me about, the product is on such an incredible pace right now. We're seeing improvements. Some of us who've been in the industry for a long time have this, we're constantly surprised at how fast you're evolving and how fast you're improving and innovating.
Yeah.
Tell me, how do new features get onto the product roadmap, or how do they ultimately get into the product?
Yeah, good question. So the product team has a couple different channels where we look for customer feedback. One of the big channels we use is our user voice forum at ideas.powerbi.com. So users can go up there and request new features or improvements or vote for existing ones that are up there. We keep close track of that. We monitor that almost daily and keep an eye on what's changing and what's trending there. So that's one major source. The other major source we use is telemetry. So we look at what people are actually doing, right? We see what features they're using, what they're not using, and we have some hypotheses on, okay, are they not using it because something's wrong with it? Are they not using it because they don't really need it? And we'll do kind of qualitative feedback. So we'll get focus groups, or we'll bring in external or even internal Microsoft users and kind of talk about why something is the way it is and what they'd like to see. Another area is leveraging our customer success team. So we have a team that goes out and works with our large enterprises to help them onboard, to help them build proof of concepts. And we'll work very closely with them on what's blocking some of these larger deals that may have feature requests that don't necessarily bubble up but from individual users on user voice, but might block a larger company from deploying. So there's a couple of different channels, but really it's all just about the users and getting that feedback from customers.
So from telemetry, what are some interesting aspects of
one
that?
thing that was really interesting that I saw recently was we looked at usage of the different visuals on reports, and it turns out like more than half of objects on a report are things like text boxes or shapes or slicers, not even the visualization part, but the things that add to your story, right? That help you tell a story, that help you point out anomalies in your data. So a lot of our users are really leveraging things other than visuals to help tell their story about their data.
Well, from a telemetry, you mentioned on the telemetry side, things that people aren't using. Are there features in Power BI that you would that you think are exciting, that you would like to see other people? Maybe they've overlooked it. Maybe it's been an enhancement that came in recently that people need to go back and look at, or things that really you feel like there's a lot of value that's untapped in.
Yeah, one feature that shipped in August is what if analysis. So it's brand new, and it's something we've heard about for a long time that customers wanted, and it allows you to set parameters in your report, so that your end users can actually play with those parameters and kind of do a what-if analysis on, if I change this number, how will it impact the rest of my data? We actually ran a contest recently where we asked the community to go and build something creative with the what-if analysis. And, of course, there were a lot of financial prediction analyses or marketing analyses, but people also made games with it. They made a Tank Wars game, and they made chess move predictors, and all these other crazy things. So those kinds of features are really fun to kind of put out in the world and see what people come up with.
So the what if analysis, is it not a visual you drag onto it?
It's both a parameter in your report, in your data, and a slicer that is attached to that parameter, so you can slice and dice the data.
Okay, well, good. And I know there's blog posts about that,
Yep.
and you said the contest was out there.
Yep.
Very cool. I think is that what the Dancing Cats
Oh, yes,
came
the
from?
Dancing Cats are one of the winners of our contest.
Very good.
Yep.
So definite obvious business impact there. So
Yep.
that's great. What do you see on you did a great session yesterday morning here at the Power BI World Tour about what you see on the roadmap.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a long-term roadmap and there's short-term roadmap. Tell me about what you see in the near term that is exciting to you.
Yeah, so something that's coming really soon is our bookmarking features. So bookmarking, and like I was saying, a lot of users are using Power BI reports to not only explore their data, but to tell a story with their data and to share that with others. So we've created this feature that allows you to bookmark different states in your report and then navigate back through those states. So that allows you to do a couple things, right? It allows you to save your exploration as you're going. So maybe you find something interesting and you want to come back to it. You can go ahead and bookmark it, keep exploring, and come back later. Or you can string those bookmarks together to really tell a story, something very similar to PowerPoint, right? And you can step through those and really guide somebody through your exploration, even if they didn't do that initial analysis. And I'm really excited to see that out in the wild and see, the crazy things our users come up with once we enable them with that feature.
Cool. And that gets enabled on the desktop and then also in the service?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Very cool. Tell me about some examples of, like, for instance, when you demoed it the other day, what are some use cases that's going to take place in? How are people going to tell stories with that, or what do you see?
Yeah, so I picture a couple different things. One big one that I imagine is people will create a bunch of bookmarks and then share that with somebody that maybe they're not standing next to. So a lot of the time when you have a story you want to tell with data, there's explanations for why something happened, or something happened with the data, something happened in the market that kind of isn't necessarily represented there in that chart, and you want to give that additional info along with it. So I imagine there's a lot of sharing stories. Even though you're not standing next to each other, you can still tell that story. I think people will leverage it for navigation in reports as well. Okay. So we're going to allow you to create links to different bookmarks that you've created. So that's going to be really interesting in terms of different table of contents, or guiding your users through your report and making sure they kind of know where to go if they have a certain question.
Very good.
Yeah.
Awesome. So bookmarking, anything else on the roadmap that you're excited
let's
about?
see. We're also making sure that in Power BI Desktop we have links to a lot of our resources in the community. So we have a ton of YouTube content where we film a lot of videos about our new releases, or about different aspects of the product that you need to learn about. We also have resources like guided learning that steps you through the product one by one with a couple short videos so that you can really ramp up quickly. And then we have our user voice forum, our community forums, our galleries where we have different contests. So we're going to link to those directly in the product in the coming months. And that's going to make it way easier for our users as they're getting started to really discover those resources and connect with the community. Yeah.
So, Kim, one of the things that every month, the great thing about Power BI is we get a fresh fresh copy of Power BI or a new release every month.
Yeah.
One of the challenges is making sure that everybody on our team has the same version of Power BI, and then getting people to download it and install it, and then all of a sudden my icon in the taskbar goes back to a white box, and you just go through that routine. I mean, it's nice to know there's a new version, and it prompts me to let me know there is one. Are there any improvements on the horizon for that, for improving that release cadence?
Yeah, definitely. We hear that a lot, that it's tough to keep up and make sure you're always up to date. And for companies where maybe you're not an admin on your own machine, you can even install it without IT getting involved. So we've partnered with the Windows Store, and coming soon we're actually going to be adding PowerBI Desktop to the Windows Store, so you can install it as a Windows app, and we'll support automatic updates and non-admin installs. So we want to make it really easy for everybody to get PowerBI Desktop and everybody to stay up to date.
Oh, very cool. So as you make your releases, those will just immediately flow into the machines.
Those will just show up.
Oh, okay,
yep.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
So keep an eye out for that in the coming weeks.
So currently in the store, there's effectively the tablet version of the app, which is not the desktop.
Yep.
But that's in there. But you're going to be adding the full desktop experience.
Yep. So you'll see two options there
nice.
When you search for Power BI. You'll see Power BI Desktop, and you'll see the Power BI app as it stands today.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be great. I think that's and hats off to you and your team and how far you've pushed this, how quickly you've pushed it, and those of us who work in the space, especially around the dynamic side, this has really opened up for my users, my customers, opportunities to take what was in some reporting constraints that we had and said, my tool is not exactly what I'm not really a reporting tool, but now I've got this other Power BI Desktop, and I can pair it with my CRM in my case, and turn around. And you guys have just done a fabulous job.
Thank you. It's great to hear.
So I'm looking forward to the future's bright. And how fast? Do you have metrics on like how fast it's grown or how fast it's getting deployed?
I don't remember the numbers that Chuck had. We had. We could look it up, but we had the number of data models, and it's just exploding, exponentially. So, it's really fun to see how fast it's growing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, are you on social media or anywhere? Or do we follow you?
I'm on Twitter at Kim Manis. My name.
Spell that?
KIMMANIS on Twitter. Definitely look me up on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
Would love to hear the feedback.
Sounds great. Well, have a safe trip back. Thanks for being a part of the Power BI World Tour.
Yeah, thank you for being
thanks
part
for the conversation. And we'll keep in touch. And good luck with the next releases. We're excited to see.
Thanks.
I'm here with Chuck Sterling, with Microsoft, a senior program manager with the Power BI team, Power BI and Flow and Power Apps.
That's right.
Community team. Tell me what does that title represent?
It's interesting. So when you talk about program managers, you think somebody that maybe programs or somebody that manages. And actually, we do neither. I haven't checked in a line of code for about 5 years, and I don't manage anybody, so it's kind of an interesting title. What we typically own is we actually either own a schedule or we own a relationship. In my case, I tend to focus on the relationships. So as you know, I look after MVPs in the Power BI space, Power Apps in the Flow space. And then I also have relationships, and I want to go out and help foster the user groups. In case you didn't mention it, we're actually at a user group conference right now.
This is the aforementioned Power BI World Tour here in New York. It's been a long day of conferences, but Charles led the last session and did a fabulous job talking about Power BI governance.
It was a lot of fun, and I have to admit, I've never had a screen come down and try to crush me. And Scott was my hero. He actually held the screen up for the projector, and he was behind the screen, so he missed two-thirds of the presentation.
Of it. That's right.
So we'll have to go out and make that up to him over maybe at the bar tonight.
So tell me about as you work with the community, you're working with, like I said, with the Power BI MVPs.
Yes.
And are there Power BI MVPs, or is it just data platform, or how does that does that work?
That's a great question. A lot of people don't know how the MVP program is structured at Microsoft. There are 5 categories. I'm holding up 5 fingers for you guys on the audio. There are developer actually is the largest category. So that comprises, I want to say it's like 1,500 of our MVPs are in the developer category.
Right.
There is data category, as you mentioned, and inside of the data category are the Power BI MVPs. Okay. There's the business category, as you well know, because that's what you are part of. It's under business. That contains, in addition to CRM, I believe, Project Server and other Dynamics.
Right, other Dynamics products.
I'm missing 2. I'm missing probably the Office space. So the whole SharePoint, Excel, great guys. And that would leave me with the whole Windows Server. That would include the SMS and the operations piece. We have a huge intersection of user group leaders who are MVPs. Why is that? Well, right off the bat, if you start looking at the kind of the contribution of a user group lead, they're doing 12 sessions a month. They may not be delivering at it, but they're showing up. They're going out and organizing a speaker if they're not presenting. So while the presentation itself or the user group meeting is a contribution, there is all this long tail to get that speaker on that stage. So again, you don't have to be the sharpest knife in the drawer to be an MVP, but the contribution level of the work that you've done does need to have a certain volume.
Volume and quality. I think it's just some people have not put themselves forward or consider themselves in that area when, in fact, they are doing an amazing job of bringing people in and reaching out. I think of one of my fellow CRM MVPs, and Britta just does a phenomenal job of education.
Thank you, Britta.
Teaching, and she'll be the first one to tell you she's not a coder, but she's an amazing person in terms of reach out and especially being attentive to people who are getting started in the program or getting started with the product.
Great point, Scott.
And so it is a big tent, all the way from big technical brains on a stick, all the way to the other side of it where people are working through different things. With Power BI, and you're a part of you have visibility into the product team.
Very much so.
This morning you and Kim did a phenomenal job of showing us what the roadmap looks like.
Yeah.
Within Power BI, what are the things that are exciting to you coming forward? What do you see in the short-term horizon that has you excited for what that's going to deliver to the customers?
So I think communication is key. Yeah. Communication is really important. And the whole storytelling that we're coming out with is going to open up so many doors. I've stopped using PowerPoint for the most part, and I actually now use Power BI. And to enable that even for going forward, to actually let it tell the story if I'm not there, is pretty cool. And then also, since I am the feedback guy, I love collecting feedback, going out and using something like Power Apps to go out and do a send a smile in every one of your applications, dashboards and reports, is going to be huge for the continual feedback. Remember, I came from a DevOps background, and making sure that you get the telemetry and the customer voice in your future efforts is super important. And right now, Power BI doesn't make it easy for you to go out and collect the data after the fact. So you go out, you do some development, you do your reports, you do your dashboards, and you deploy them, and you leave. When you come back and the customer says, hey, we want you to actually go out and do some enhancements, the first thing that you should look at is what was used, and we fixed that. That's right. That's now added. We actually showed you that before the screen crashed.
It was great.
And then secondarily, what are they asking for? What are they saying that needs to be done to this report? And that's actually something I'm going to show you guys tomorrow how to do.
Okay, excellent. So today you showed kind of a rating, the feedback using a rating, some stars, and saying, hey, I like this report or I don't like this report, or feedback on a specific record. But so you're saying that we're getting some ability to not only see who's opening the dashboards, but allowing them to give us feedback on what they want to see in those dashboards.
Yes. So we're going to look at the automated telemetry, figure out what was used, and then you're going to add this customer voice to say what they liked or they disliked. They may use it every day, but they may have hated you more and more as a result. Hopefully that isn't the case.
Yeah.
And then by people that have actually gone out and submitted those ratings, they've already told you that they want their voice heard.
Yeah.
We're going to show you, make it very, very easy
that's gonna be
to
great.
collect who it was. So you can go back and circle to your top 3 voters and say, hey, I saw that you told us on a regular basis that you didn't like, whatever the case is. Can I get 15 minutes of your time? And you go out and dig into those a little bit more.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have a dashboard that is it's one of those mother of all dashboards that's a bunch of dashboards, and honestly, I don't know if all 9 or 10 of those pages are used, or
Use should be easy to solve now. We show that.
so I get that solved.
Yep.
And I can streamline it and focus on what people are actually using.
Yep.
And make sure that I eliminate the cruft. That's going to be fantastic. So the 2 features the first feature you talk about storytelling.
Yes.
And what's that feature? Is that the bookmarks? Is that bookmarking?
Yes, that's specifically the bookmarks that lets me go out and as I walk through the report, go out and show me a story or a timeline. Yes.
Okay, so the bookmarks, and that comes in October or November?
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
we're looking, so again, it hasn't shipped yet, and things happen,
So
and we're
things
we're a lean development team.
Yep.
But they're on track.
It's in the fall. It'll be before Christmas.
It'll positively be before Christmas.
Before Christmas, fantastic.
And
even before
we also work
Thanksgiving.
on reusing the acronym MVP.
Yep.
Do you know what MVP means? Where we work
Minimal
on
viable product.
exactly right.
Okay.
So what we'll do, just like we did with Power BI themes,
Okay.
we're going
Started
to start with colors.
Yep.
We're going to see if people use it. We're going to get their feedback on it through the Send Us Smile. Figure out, did it solve their problems? If not, what was needed to be added? So when we actually put the first themes in it, at no point did we ever expect to stop at just colors. Mm-hmm. But we could bootstrap it with just colors and then start actually making sure that we're delivering it in the right way.
Yeah.
And then that's what we've done, and people said they loved it. And the next things that they want are 1, 2, and 3. You know, obviously, the different visuals, the different labels, and things like what we were showing with bookmarks. Where you can even do whether or not it's visual.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And the second feature you mentioned is the feedback, and that's a new feature that you're at. What is it? What's
It's
the
actually gonna-
product name for it?
So it's actually going to be a custom visual using Power Apps. So Power Apps, a custom
Power
visual.
Apps Custom Visual.
That's right.
Okay.
And that one's a little bit further out.
All right.
So that may be literally in your stocking at Christmas.
Okay. Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Anything else that people should be that you feel like is a high value thing that people haven't quite taken advantage of yet?
In the September release, if you haven't taken a look at the drill through yet,
The drill through. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, if you guys don't know Scott very well, he loves the Titanic data set, where you should be able to click on an individual and bring up their biography page of that person.
Yep.
And this is a ready-made solution for your reports that you've already created. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. Charles, thanks very much for your conversation. You're on Twitter.
I am on
You're
Twitter.
Very, very active on there. And how do we follow you there?
Chaz at Microsoft. It's just CHASS.
CHASS.
That's right.
And then that's your email address as well. And fantastic. Thanks very much for your time.
Also, I am the administrator for ideas.powerbi.com.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you've ever seen a feature that was missing or wasn't implemented right, let us know on ideas.powerbi.com. As I showed you today from the data, over 50% of the features that we put in the product are as a direct feedback from that.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks so much.
This has been the Power BI and More podcast with Business Solution MVPs Scott Sewell and Joel Lindstrom. This podcast is a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC. Follow Scott Sewell on Twitter at Scott Sewell. Subscribe to the CRM Audio Network of podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any place else that fine podcasts are available. You can email us at voice@crm.audio. Thanks again to our sponsors, Kingsway Soft and Alexa CRM.